Hi guys, welcome to the 14th edition of the Quarter Point podcast. Dave Tyagi is back, the showman of writing. We missed him last week on the Rangman show because the guy was unwell. And since he was unwell, we weren't getting good articles also. So I apologize for that. uh, but today we discuss a very sensitive topic. But before we go there, Dave, our women's team has stood fourth in the Olympics here out of the 12 teams contesting the prized hockey
Fantastic
medal.
achievement.
Yeah, they couldn't win a
Fantastic
medal, but they've won hearts. They've won 1.4 billion hearts back home. And a men's team has won a bronze. So kudos to them. Two words on the victory or on the performance from your side.
I think the only two words I can say are Chak De, and that's what they did, and that was fantastic because it's refreshing that for a change
Can you,
another
Dave? Can you do it in the Shah Rukh Khan way?
Chak De India, and that's what happened in the land of the rising sun because the sun did not set as such on our
The
brave
sun
athletes.
never set on a hockey team at least. Even we've won some more medals. So guys, today, recently in the media, there was an article about a cricketer, a famous English cricketer who's taken an indefinite break from cricket, citing mental issues, mental anxiety, stress, depression, whatever you call it. This guy is Ben Stokes, and ever since we've seen his article in the media, there's been a lot of news floating around mental anxiety in cricket, depression in cricket. So that's the topic we're going to be discussing today. So Dave, I have a question here that they say the game is bigger than the players, but if the players are not in the right kind of mental health, is there really a game?
Then it's game. Then it's almost game over. It's almost as if the game is over and it has reached its a premature ending, which is not what fans or the participants themselves want. And I was personally surprised by the news of Ben Stokes because his face is not the most expressive one. So even when he could be feeling pressure in the middle, his the poker face expressions basically hide and reveal the inner turmoil, which I'm sure he was going through. I think what must be duly noted in Benjamin Stokes' case is that he's been a prolific scorer across formats
Yes.
and for quite some time. And I think I think one of the episodes which might have caused a scar in him was, I think, last year when some crazy fans said some things very unpleasant, which is when his father was not really well. I think it was the case of cancer or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely berserk and heartless of some fan who wrote to him saying that may your parents die or may your mother die and stuff like that. So, whilst on the one hand, he has been dealing with a lot of pressure, because let's not forget the team that he is one of the primary figures of is one of the most powerful sides in cricket. On the other hand, there is always these brickbats, which are far too common in this social media driven age, an age fueled with mindless passion sometimes. So I think somewhere he might have felt that hurt, and somewhere probably the tiredness of playing cricket consecutively for quite some time must have taken a toll. But here's wishing Ben Stokes a very fine recovery, because the last thing any of us want, irrespective of being an Indian cricket fan, a West Indian cricket fan, or an English cricket fan, is to see Stokes being away from a game to which he brings so much of joy.
But Dave, the scary part for me is that he's taken an indefinite break from cricket. I mean, a person of his
Yes.
stature not playing the game. Imagine if he was there for the five-match test series, which is ongoing against India. England could have been at least
Yeah.
that much more stronger. But the fact that there is no certainty for his comeback is a bit scary. And all this not because of performance, but because of mental stress or because of anxiety issues. So that is something which
Right.
is really scary, at least for me. And today we'll discuss some cricketers of the past also who experienced this. So do you want to dive
Yes.
into it now?
Yeah, so the news of Ben Stokes' indefinite break was as alarming as back in the day hearing about Marcus Trescothick, who how it all started about Trescothick is that on the 2006 English tour to India, he was here in the country, and even before a game could begin, he suddenly announced his intentions of retreating back, going back to England. He took 1 month break. I think the English team were here during May, the peak summers of India. And then it was around August, September that he hit a fantastic test century against Sri Lanka and he came back and he marked his presence. And after that, he wanted to again go back and take a break. And then there was the Ashes tour that was happening in 2006-7, to which he was very keen to participate. So he took the flight, arrived in Australia, set foot down under, and as soon as the two tour games were over, before the Ashes series could properly begin, he said, I can't take it anymore and I want to go back. And that was that. He went back.
You know,
He also missed.
he described his
He
illness as
also
a
missed.
virus,
Yeah, he also. Yeah, he first when he came to India, he said that it's a virus.
yeah,
First, when he came
which
to
was
India, he
very
said that.
scary. Thinking about
Yeah,
mental
yeah,
anxiety as a virus is
yeah.
considering the world is reeling with
So,
one, that is like
but
very scary.
imagine, but Pranay, imagine the kind of predicament that the great Marcus Trescothick's in, because he did not even participate in 2006 Champions Trophy,
Right.
um, and that was sad. And after that, we never really heard from him in the white ball format, to which he was such an integral part, the kinds of which could be only compared to, like the presence of Rahul Dravid for Indian Test team, or let's say the presence of Arvinda De Silva to the ODI team of Sri Lanka. And he was a prolific run scorer. He was uh, he was doing things as an opener, hitting strokes at soaring strike rates when a thing like strike rate wasn't even the most important statistical phenomena in the game. So Marcus Trescothick's name will unfortunately often be the table topper in a list which you would not want to see any cricketer belong to. That's what I have to
You
say.
know, also before Owen Morgan changed the whole approach of England to white ball cricket, Marcus Trescothick was actually up there scoring runs, because England
Yeah, he
in the
was the
early
fire starter.
yeah, in the early 2000s, they were labeled as a test team under Nasser Hussain. And this guy
Yeah,
completely changed it, yeah, along with Nick Knight.
he
I mean, in
he
the
was one of
2003
the
World Cup,
he
they
was
were
one of the
phenomenal.
I'm saying he was one of the few batsmen who just didn't seem perturbed at all by the likes of Brett Lee or Glenn McGrath or whatever.
Wasim
And
Akram, Waqar Yunus, no one were
yeah,
just
he was
scoring.
he was fantastic.
Yeah.
So just
But you
imagine
know,
the
Dave, at least the good news is that he played for Somerset again, his county team, and now he's the batting coach of England. Recently became the batting coach of England. So at least he's giving back to the game in
yes,
whatever capacity he can. And he's
yeah,
overcome the
yeah.
virus which he labeled it as, which for me I still can't digest, man. Mental anxiety becoming a virus, it's very scary.
No,
Uh,
Pranay, I think there's also a very basic human element involved in sport, which signals its presence in the most harmless of ways. For example, I think every human being, it may not be incorrect to conjecture that every human being in some form or the other suffers or battles some kind of anxiety. For example,
100%.
let's take students who commit suicide I'm not talking about those youngsters who were tricked into the Blue Whale Challenge, that nefarious game developed by a Russian hacker,
Yeah.
the kinds of which prompted young children to commit suicide, take their own lives. But the kind of pressure the education system has built today, especially in a country to which you and I belong, where for one engineering seat there are probably 11 vying for that same spot, just giving a ratio of 1 is to 11. So the pressure is enormous. There are people who are also hypochondriacs. There are people who battle different kinds of anxieties. I myself, when I'm struck with the slightest of medical anomalies, I tend to inflate it and take it into a different zone altogether. And this is when I'm nowhere near to the 22 yards and I'm not on the television. The only screen that I'm facing is the screening that my parents do around me or my immediate ecosystem. Now, these are international athletes. You and I sitting in an air conditioned room cannot imagine the kind of pressure that these people constantly are made to endure, and by choice. And in some cases, it's not that they fall apart. In some cases, they accept that there is something wrong. And somebody has said very rightly that the first step towards realizing the problem is
There's
the fact that
acceptance.
you realize that
Yeah.
there is a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. True.
What do you think about that?
100%, Dave. You were talking about inflate. If I may, I would want to see your wisdom inflate. That's all the inflation that should be happening with you.
Right now, what's inflating is the lack of it.
But you're
But
right. So if you were to put a finger on why does this happen, like I basically could come up with 2 or 3 reasons. One is that if you're on an away tour, you don't get to see your family that often. So being away from your family is something which might cause this kind of stress. That's one logical reason that I could see, because everyone needs family. And the second one is not that old. It's a very recent thing, which is the existence in these bio bubbles. Like Quentin de Kock very upfront said that he couldn't take these bio bubbles and he was suffering from depression and he couldn't take the captaincy. So he was given that break, and from the time he's traveled to West Indies and to Ireland after that break, been scoring heaps of runs. So he was the first player to come out opposing these bio bubbles because it just took away their very life,
yeah,
so to speak.
could you for our listeners delve into a bit more detail as to what exactly did De Kock confront, and when did he realize that okay, I just can't take it
So
anymore and I have to
Dave,
come
I
out?
think I think this was when South Africa traveled to Pakistan. I think they were just based out of
Earlier this
Lahore.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was amid so much of security and such strict protocol that he's a very free spirited person, and plus he was under the burden of captaining his side in these crucial test matches. And before I think he didn't captain the T20 series. They came back for the Australian tour, which never happened. Uh,
Yeah,
so
we
his
talked about it
his
and it's really sad.
yeah. So his pressure of captaining, which was not something which came naturally to him, plus the bio bubble, where he couldn't be free spirited, he couldn't go roam around. He's not a person who's just confined to a room or to a lobby. So that sort of all accumulated, and finally he just broke. He just said that I can't take this anymore. I need my space. I need my life. I need that break. And thankfully, Cricket South Africa understood that and they gave him that break. He went back to the bush. He did whatever he wanted to, which brought him back to the Quinton de Kock we know. And then he went about scoring his runs. So the pressure of captaincy, the strict protocols, and the existence of the bio bubble were 3 critical aspects to break him down.
Right. Well said, yeah, well said, and well put. But I think as fans, we simply
And
can't
Dave, sorry,
imagine.
before you go on, I just recently read an article where the English team said that they really won't go to Australia if Australia is so strict with their quarantine measures, because I think they'll be there for a good 2, 3 months or 3, 4 months. I'm not sure, but
Yeah,
a
that
good
that's
period
a
of
long time away.
at least 3 months. and they can't be without their families. So they've made it very clear that if you're going to be stuck in strict quarantine in a bio bubble, we at least need a family there. And Cricket Australia
This is
needs
for
to
the
do all.
Ashes.
This is for the Ashes. And Cricket Australia needs to do all the thinking and get the necessary arrangements in place. Otherwise, you'll just see a second string English team here. And we don't want a contest as big as the Ashes, the cream of cricket, to see the top Australian side play a second string English side, right?
Right.
So this is
So,
increasingly becoming an area of
yeah,
concern.
yeah, so much so that there have been cricketers, at least two of which are very popular in India, and I won't say extremely popular, but very well known to the die-hard intrepid cricket lover. Praveen Kumar, the famous
Yeah,
medium
yeah, yeah.
pacer, the man associated with swing bowling, actually took off in his car, in his family car, and went straight for the Meerut Haridwar Expressway, wanting to commit suicide somewhere in the middle of the road, is what he actually blatantly and fearlessly admitted. And the only thing which stopped Praveen Kumar from doing that um, was that he luckily saw a picture of his family and his kids smiling inside the car. So a sudden glance at that picture made him realize that what am I doing? What am I going away from? And later, when respected cricket experts from India, such as Nikhil Chopra, the former prominent off spinner, who was also part
A,
of
a good-looking one, that too.
very stylish, a very good-looking
Yeah.
man, a huge Sachin Tendulkar admirer, by the way, and why not? When the likes of Nikhil Chopra and Sanjay Bangar detected that what might have been the reason, then they arrived at the conclusion that the absence of fanfare and no longer being as popular, no longer being in proximity to the days of the yore, the popular days as an international cricketer, might have gotten to do something with Praveen Kumar's state of mind. Because one day you are headlining material, you are taking wickets, you're all over the newspapers, you are winning a game at the back of a back-breaking spell, and the next day when you retire, when you aren't picked up, you are sort of a lost commodity. You are like a spent force. So he kind of felt very useless about him. And now he is helping a lot of upcoming bowlers hone their crafts. And I believe there is a cricket academy which either he has set himself or he's part of, but he's mentoring young and upcoming daring fast bowlers to become their best versions. And I think that's his way of being connected to a sport. So I think what's important is to realize the fact that there has to be something to which you hold on to, the binding factor in your life. For example, what would you and I do in the absence of cricket? It would take away a lot of our immediate existential meaning. I mean, to you,
I'll
okay, I
become
have
like
Formula One.
I'll become a car cleaner. No, in
You
that
love
case, I
soccer,
mean there
you
is
love
there is
Formula
soccer,
One,
there's hockey, but what binds us as two friends, two individuals, is cricket.
right?
In fact, Dev, I
Yeah,
wanted
yeah.
to ask you. So I didn't know about Praveen Kumar. So it's really sad to know this. But do you think somewhere uh, the kind of fanfare and the kind of pedestal that these cricketers are put at when they're on their peak or during their peak, and suddenly if they're not performing, they're just shattered to the ground. So somewhere, do the fans also play a big role in this?
Absolutely, they do. Absolutely. And the fan has to, I'm so sorry, but I'm being very blunt today. And by the way, I love you, the fan, I'm still straight, Pranay, but I love you, the fan, I meant. And it's because of the fan that, there is excitement in the game. But the fan also at times has to be shown his or her right place under the sun. You cannot be, well, there are some implausible things that the fans have done. For example, the 1996 World Cup, and let's deviate for a bit from the topic of discussion. They were throwing shoes, they were pelting bottles in India, they go wild in India and Pakistan. At a time where definitely the West Indians, for example, know a great deal better how to party, how to make, you know, merry under the sun. They don't do such vile and uncouth things. You know, the Australians can sledge, the Australians can resort to funny ways, but the subcontinental fan in particular really needs to just tone it down and just keep it together. I haven't heard in another country, of course, Faf du Plessis' example was a standout, that he told that he was given death threats. That to me, as personally as a fan of Faf and follower of South African cricket, all thanks to you, you made a huge part in it. I was shocked that the South African fan could do such a stupid thing as to give a cricketer a death threat. That too, when he was just a young guy starting out a decade back in the, in national cricket. But you cannot do things like pelt stones and threaten them. Okay, you break a TV, it shows that you are really over emotive. Your passion is unhinged by a lot of things. But you don't subject cricketers to vitriol and, just verbal abuses, the kinds of which we prominently hear on the middle stump camera. That's between the cricketers, that's their matter. Why do you have to get into a position where you bring bad name to a sport? As it is, the sport has been maligned so many times by repeated instances such as spot fixing, match fixing, giving away pitch information. We don't want to get there. But the fan, especially in an age where he's got a pedestal to express himself, social media having become the voice of the voiceless, has really unleashed upon cricketers a wild army of fans who are not really fans. They become blood sucking zombies at the end of the day. I'm not generalizing this, but the kind of, okay, unless you are like a monk out there wearing the test whites or the bright ODI jersey, you can abstain, you can create an invisible barrier between yourself and the fan and not hear
But
anything.
everyone's not Rahul Dravid.
Yeah, everyone's not Rahul Dravid, everybody's
That's
not Steve
impossible.
Boy, everybody's not Ice Cool.
But
It's just
they
not
are
possible
the
to be.
opposite spectrum to what you just said. Don't you think the fans elevate the cricketers also more than required?
They do, but then, as the cliched saying goes, that there are two sides to every coin. If I put myself, if you and I were to record a podcast on multiple occasion every single day of the week, we would not be able to put that same creative energy into churning out a thought-provoking cricket article and analysis and opinion. So, it's basically yin and yang. It's like to every
Yeah,
action there is an equal and
yeah.
opposite reaction.
Now,
So the
what do you think
fans do
about the
that.
media, Dave? How much role does
The, me-
media also play in raising the stakes of a cricketer and then dropping him to the ground?
the media plays a role which is basically a five-letter word: havoc. That's what it does today in this TRP driven, revenge seeking, hype
And guys, TRP is
fueling
not
age.
Tyagi rating point, it's television rating point.
Yeah, the Tyagi rating point still doesn't exist. It will never exist. But it's very
In my
disappointing to
eyes,
see.
TRP is Tyagi rating point because of the work this guy does in writing. Yeah.
Okay, then for me it is RRP, double R, which is not Rudra Pratap Singh related. Anyways, so yeah, I mean the media and the abusive fans together create a concoction which is poisonous to gulp down. You would much rather keep the glass down there. Another cricketer who suffered, who much to my surprise, and I had no idea he had suicidal thoughts, was none other than Robin Uthappa. There
Oh,
was a phase in his career where he was suicidal, where he said that even whilst he was playing cricket, active cricket for India, he would, look at cricket as a funnel to while away time so that he could not sit in isolation and then become desperate about entertaining thoughts about suicide. He has openly said, there is an interview to thequint.com in which the powerful right-hander, one we have seen entertain everyone in white ball cricket, admitted that I would see the balcony and I would see the railing, and the next thing was in my mind that I wanted to just jump across railing and just die. And so he identified that there is a technique to uh, beat this kind of negative thinking. He openly started writing about his frame of mind, about his life, and he identified that there are a few things he wants to change. One of the things he wanted to change was this way of negative thinking. And then he started to identify the person or any help, any resource that could be resorted to in order to bring about this positive change. And he went about it, and now he's amongst us. He's hitting big boundaries and sixes in IPL. He might not be shattering Gale like records or doing Kyron Pollard like things or doing stuff which Shakib Al Hasan and other greats in the IPL have done. But he's still here, and we are very happy to see such a fine man, such a fine young man. He's still very, very young, and but it was heartbreaking to hear such a thing. So this kind of mental pressure and anxiety has been in England, amongst Australians, amongst Indians, amongst everyone.
They have another very big name in English cricket who suffered from mental anxiety, Jonathan Trott, the South African-born one-down player.
Yeah.
I think he was one of the most fantastic one-down players of his time. In the late 2000s and in the early part of last decade. And in 2013 is when he sort of figured that something is wrong with him. And the coach was Andy Flower, and he went up to his captain, Alistair Cook, and Andy Flower, and said that I can't play like this. He played one test in Brisbane, and then he said that I can't do this because I'm not in my right state of mind.
Yeah.
And
unless I'm very much mistaken, his ODI batting average was 51.
51, 51. That's right. He was a very good
That's
test player also.
Yeah, absolutely. Very stylish player. I remember
Exactly.
his the gentle pushes to the offside, the elegant flicks. He was a thorn in India's paths back in those days. I remember he was a very, very dangerous
And
batsman.
the only reason that he could identify with this mental anxiety or the sickness was that he wasn't getting enough family time because the schedule was so chaotic. It was filled with so many tours that he really could not spend enough time with his family. And as I said initially, also in this podcast, that if you don't get enough family time, you can't take that positivity from being with your family and then harness it in a way that you can become a better player. So that is very crucial. And they have another very interesting guy who also suffered from mental depression was Steve Harmison, the lanky English fast bowler. And his reason for depression wasn't excessive cricket or wasn't family time. His was that what if my performance goes down? So he used to feel scared. Exactly. So he had this anxiety that today I'm at the pinnacle of my bowling, but tomorrow I won't be. So how would people receive that? How would my team members receive that? How would the opposition receive that? How would cricket at large receive that? And
he
unfortunately had to cut his career short because of that.
Yeah. He was, to me, he was one of the, he still is rather, one of the quintessential definitions of a gentleman, a gentle giant on the field, much like Courtney Walsh. And I remember he was part of the damage which was unleashed upon the West Indians in 2004. When before the Antigua test, they were all out for not even a 3-figure mark under Brian Lara's captaincy. He was wrecking havoc left, right, and center. Those were the days when Steve Harmison would be there, and so would Hogarth from the other end.
Matthew Hogarth, Steve Harmison, James Anderson, and then they were complemented by Andrew Flintoff.
And then spinners like Gareth
and there was another guy, Simon Jones. He couldn't, because of his injury, he couldn't play longer for England. But Steve Harmison was phenomenal in the 2005 Ashes also. He single-handedly destroyed the Australians there. He and Andrew Flintoff. Was like simply awesome during that time. But it's so funny that what do these cricketers feel? I mean, like there's so many varied reasons for which people suffer from anxiety here. And it's not only sports, as you rightly said, there's corporate anxiety. In fact, I'll be upfront with you. I quit 2 jobs because I couldn't take the pressure anymore. I used to feel that I'm heading into a disaster going every day to work.
Hmm.
So there is a so as you rightly said that anxiety, that pressure is with everyone. It's just how you handle it. In fact, I was seeing a radio interview the other day of a person. I think he worked with an event management company. He talked about how he took a break because he was feeling so anxious about work, and especially this work from home has like totally destroyed the working culture, totally destroyed
You
the
know,
thinking.
on that note, Pranay, I slightly differ. Work from home definitely has restricted the movement, okay? But let's face facts. I think the only corporate office where there is no petty office politics or unforeseen in-house competition is the office of the Lord Almighty. Because this kind of a competition, the backbiting, the sugarcoating of the boss, and I know both listeners, I know Pranay and me are slightly digressing, but it's only trying to put the jigsaws in their right frame here. There is no office where backbiting doesn't happen, where you are not even aware that there are silently people who are
It's
wanting
called
to
as
stab you.
grapevine politics that happens everywhere.
Yeah. Like for example, I mean, I hate to admit the culture of the advertising industry. I don't know how it is elsewhere, but the kind of mindless deadlines and pressures that the client puts, it's there is one line that the client is always right, the guest is always right. I'm sorry, that's not. Nothing is more important than your
And
mental peace, than your
their,
mental well-being at the end of the day.
their
What are
favorite
you going
Friday
to
night
do?
song was "Give Me Everything Tonight." On
But
a
no more
lighter note,
deadlines.
viewers, yeah. But
Yeah,
yeah, you're right about that, and this has been happening pre the COVID time also, because
yeah.
honestly, beyond a point, you feel there's no new learning, and the clients are continuously at your case. Yeah, give me this, give me that. This is wrong. So. This is not right. So you don't feel motivated. I think the other thing, Dave, that we should talk about is motivation, because when you start seeing lack of it is when you know something is wrong, right?
Absolutely.
And similarly, I think it's even for our cricketers. If they don't feel motivated to play the game, that means that there's something wrong. And what sort of destroys me, what I don't like, is that the fans are still not warming up to the fact that cricketers are also people. They are
Yeah,
bound to
that to
suffer
her is
from,
human. They're not going to take that.
yeah, exactly. To err is human,
I'm
and to
sorry,
forgive is divine.
I'm just diving in here. Just an hour back, I have written for a publication an article about the pressure on Virat Kohli to hit a 28th Test century. It was back in November 2019 when Virat Kohli last hit a Test century. And as a matter of fact, Virat Kohli, when he came back from a nightmarish England tour in 2014, where he could not even touch 150 runs in the series, forget hitting a century.
Was he showing
He
fingers
admitted that
then?
he wasn't. He wasn't. All the fingers were being shown to him because of a lack of batting form. And that's the time when he was really down and depressed. So I'm saying that there is now this pressure being made on Virat Kohli. I'm not saying that anyone who has asked me to write that article is wrong, because it's a pretty obvious question. Somebody who has quite simply raised the bar of batsmanship by himself, in his own unique ways, rather. Uh, and then the same person fails to hit a century in nearly 1.5, almost 2 years. It will be almost 2 years in November if he doesn't score a century in Test cricket. The fans are going to ask you questions. That is where your correct point uh, enters the conversation. That the fans have to
But
also realize that these are human beings. They are not. They are not. This is not an Iron Man. This is not a Batman. This is not some Thor. The
yeah,
bat in his hand is
true,
not like the Thor's
true,
hammer that is just going to
true.
destroy opponents left, right, center. And I'm just very glad, Pranay, I want to talk to you about Dale Steyn. I'm just happy that he did not get disappointed. Imagine the heights that he has touched, and then the loss of form, the injuries one after the other, a niggle in the tendon, some ligament injury, a ligament tear, a back injury, a minor back scuffle. I'm glad that he did not become a victim of depression, because he was stain gun. Remember, everybody, me included, everybody expected the world out of it. This is
Yeah.
an exasperating experience for batsmen. That's what he was at his peak. Then came the injuries. I'm glad that Dale Steyn was not able to, was able to actually create that wheel, create that fence to protect himself. Otherwise,
But
he
you
would
know,
have
they
gone down
what
depression.
works in his favor is that he channelizes his frustrations through surfing, and not the
Yeah,
keyboard warrior surfing, but the river surfing, the sea surf.
well said, my
So
friend. Well said.
yeah, so he channelizes his
But
frustration
but
there,
but
though he
Pranay,
still.
my request to you is to please get into some details about these keyboard warriors. Tell our viewers about how these people are the great nadirs of our time. That we need to really refrain from being keyboard warriors or being cricket armchair activists. Man, couple of lines on that.
They've recently. I wrote two articles on Indian hockey with them coming into the quarterfinals, semi-finals rather, and then the men's taking up bronze. That is the time I realized that for things like this, if you show support for your country, it is beyond words. Not for things like should the KPL happen, should the players be playing in the KPL and stuff like that. I saw social media bombarded with those things, and I could hardly see people supporting a hockey team for something that they accomplished after 41 long years. My only
Absolutely.
request to these keyboard
Four
warriors is
decades.
4 decades, man, before you were an idea, before I was an idea, forget being born. I don't know whether parents were
Your
married also
idea was
then.
the company itself.
Yeah, my dad didn't think that he'll marry his mom that time. Yeah? My mom, sorry. And you similarly must be for your in your case. Yeah? Sorry, I got a little carried away there. But I mean,
No, but it's
rally. If you
facts.
if you want to use the keyboard as a weapon to express yourself, say the right kind of things. Rally behind,
Encourage people to see the good.
encourage people, and don't create controversies. Don't create politics. Don't create sensationalism. That's all I ask.
Well said. Yeah. Well said. Well said.
Those are my 2 cents on these keyboard warriors, yeah, Dave. Seriously, it's very annoying.
It's just for our listeners from the Caribbean or England and Australia, there is this term in Hindi, our mother
So
tongue,
sorry, Dave.
tamasha.
Before we finish this chain of thought, I mean, before we get on to the next one, I really liked a tweet from Gautam Gambhir, and he said that what the Indian men team and the Indian women's team also have accomplished in hockey is bigger than the 2000 and 1983, 2011, and the 2007 success of winning 3 World Cups. So we need to rally behind a hockey team, our players at the Olympics, and we need to show solidarity and support. And a
I'm not
cricketer
sure
saying that,
I'm not sure MS Dhoni would like that tweet, but definitely, yeah.
I
Uh,
don't know about MS Dhoni, but the tweet was fantastic, man. And I, in fact, retweeted that and I liked it. Because this guy, he spoke from his heart and he said that cricket is not the be all and the end all of people living in this country, man. There is something which is equally big. And the one point I raised in my article was that now it's time that hockey should be put at the same pedestal as cricket emotionally and financially. I don't know. I mean, it might get a blind eye, but
yeah,
seriously,
if
for
you
me,
if you put it on the same financial bandwidth as cricket, then great. But again, consider the flip side of being emotionally involved in a sport. For example, and I want to bring the example of Tendulkar here. A cricketer who actually goes a bit underappreciated only from the perspective of being mentally strong. Before Dravid, Ganguly, Lakshman, Sehwag became the warriors in the middle and the top order, This man was single-handedly carrying the hopes of a country whose population you and I know runs into billions. I mean, the mere idea that you would shut down television when he's out
Yeah,
is an insult to the sport
yeah.
in the first is that just means that you don't really have faith in the other people to follow. And unfortunately, in those days, there weren't many good batsmen. But imagine Tendulkar, who also did play a lot of IPL. He could have okay. He had made the riches. He had made a life for himself, but not before creating some mind-boggling records and achieving what
100%.
many others don't even think of. Let's not discredit the fact that he could have also been a very easy victim of going down that way. So I think full credit to people like Dravid and Sachin for being mentally strong,
Yeah.
Full credit to the likes of Steve Waugh, who captained their country for so many years, knowing the fact that when they were representing Australia, they weren't just representing cricket, but a bastion of excellence called Australian cricket. So, so these are things we have to be, as a fan, listeners, Pranay and me are of the opinion that we need to be emotionally involved to a certain limit, and we need to spare our cricketers. At the end of the day, these are people who
Yeah.
inspire us, who drive us, who motivate us. Why put them under the sword of judgment? Why commit the greatest sacrilege? I would rather call it sacrilege only. There's no other way. By questioning one's character or intent at the back of failure in one or two series and saying he's over. I mean, the so-called journalists who call themselves journalists by writing, what you and I know what they write. It just, I mean, well, today if you criticize a Pujara, for sure he's earned it. But even then, in expressing criticism, there is a way of presenting your thoughts. You don't assassinate somebody. You don't, which is why I think some cricketers, when they say, we don't read anything written about us, I think they do the right thing, because that's one of the best
But,
ways to keep off it.
Dave, I think it's only human to actually figure what someone is saying about you. And when they say that they don't read, I really don't believe that. Maybe they don't get so affected, but everyone wants that kind of appreciation. Now, the only question is that if someone is doing well, don't elevate them to a godlike status. And if
Yes,
someone is doing something bad or he's out of form, just
he's
don't
not a devil.
then, yeah, don't throw him in the dump.
Yeah.
That's all. Just be a little more logical and
And accommodating,
be accommodating and a bit analytical in your approach rather than, as you rightly said, overpowering your emotions. Because when emotions spiral downward, they become hatred, which is not where anyone wants to go. And possibly, that could be another reason that these cricketers feel depressed. Like if you know that your country is going to laugh at you for whatever you do because you're out of form, how motivated do you feel going onto the crease and batting?
I think there is a great lesson in looking at cricketers like Colin Miller and how they conducted themselves. Lighthearted,
Yeah.
I mean, at a time when
For
you
that
and me are
matter,
discussing something
even Ajay
very,
Jadeja, yeah, I saw him laughing on
very
the
ice
field
cool,
all the time. Yeah.
very, yeah, very ice cool. So I think somewhere cricket is also determined by the kind of personality you bring to the sport, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
For example, Kohli is known for his instinct for domination. Brian Lara was known for his fighting abilities, that mental toughness. But then even during there was a phase, and my very good friend Prashant Kumar Banjare, who I would want to to my notice that, and he's actually written a beautiful article on our website, Correct Point, that Brian Lara was going through a very lean patch in the tour to Australia in 2000. He had controversy with one of his girlfriends when Lara was a charmer back in those days. There were constant injuries one after the other, and then add on top of it, competing against Australians who weren't the quietest creatures on the cricket field. So Lara was facing music, not just chin music from Megra, by the way, left, right, and center. And that was a time where he felt he was on the back foot. But then he was Brian Lara, so he was able to produce 182 runs on that dismal tour otherwise for the West Indies. It was a tour where there were likes of Jay Adams, Sherwin Campbell. There were other batsmen too, but only Brian Lara was able to reach a score like 182, and the Australians were giving it to him left, right, center in an unsparing way. So it's not just the fans, also it's your opponents. It's what your sometimes maybe Pranay. Let's not forget the fact that maybe some member of your family with whom you have an intimate relationship might not really approve of your career. What about that? And what if you fail? What if you come back and you have a somber looking person at the dining table? That's not the kind of sight you want to see. Of course, the beautiful smile of your child can lighten up everything. But if your partner doesn't approve of your career, okay, you're living in with a girlfriend, let's not make it a wife, and she hates cricket and she has bad things to say, for instance, every time you fail, well, that's disaster, man. And then slowly and slowly depression then gets into
Yeah.
your personal life, having
True.
screwed your professional life. I beg your pardon for using that word. So I think there's a certain element of aloofness that one may want to carry onto the cricket turf, especially because this is here. Some casualties have happened in the context of mental pressures and anxieties,
Yeah.
and it's not a pleasant sight.
And Dave, do you want to harp on Amelia Kerr also, the latest addition to this mental anxiety process?
Yeah, I'm absolutely shocked. I mean, she's going to turn 21 towards the end of the year. She's just a 20-year-old kid, okay, who broke into the side as a prominent spinner, and then went on to create record books in the year 2018 when she was responsible for 232 runs, if I'm not mistaken. That too in the ODI format. So she's done something incredible. And last year, I saw her in the World Cup, the Women's World Cup, and man, she was the only person who was able to. It was a game that the Kiwis lost to India. She was the only one who could come to terms with facing the spin challenge of Poonam, the most difficult spinner to score against. So, such a fantastic find, almost the Quentin de Kock of women's cricket, with all due respect to women's cricket. And by which I mean, I don't mean to compare it to men's cricket, but she has single handedly elevated the status of an ideal all rounder. It's like Quinton de Kock plus Sam Curran is equal to Amelia Kerr for me personally. I'm a huge fan of her. And now this news that she's struck by this issue is very hard to deal with as a fan. I can't imagine what it must be like for her family. Incidentally, she has a real sister, a very, very brave woman who's also represented the Kiwis, by the way, who suffers from multiple physical ailments, one of which includes diabetes. I think one side of her face also is not, there is a facial muscle disorder or something like that. Was it a stroke? I can't commit. I would not want to pass my word. But her real sister also has a lot of physical tensions to deal with, but is still braving on, soldiering on, forging a cricketing career, plays a lot of domestic cricket back in New Zealand. And now the news of her biological sibling suffering from mental pressure, so much so that she's away from the game
On
as
from
of
the
now.
series, yeah.
Yeah, so that's very sad. The Kerr family, my thoughts go out to them. She's one of the shining stars. She's as interesting a talent to watch as is our very own Shafali Verma,
Yeah.
the mad hitter of the white ball. So I just hope to see Amelia back to where she belongs, her home, away from home, the 22 yards, because she's really at her age. She's done commendable things in the sport already, and she has good 15 years, a decade and a half ahead of her. So even if she takes a break of 6 months, a sabbatical, just just take all the proper care go to a psychologist, take prioritize mental health. Everything at the end of the day does not boil down to bulging biceps, six pack abs, chiseled physique, the likes of which we admire Faf du Plessis a lot about. And I'm glad even Faf, sorry, I'm diverting. I'm glad that Faf has not been a victim of this testing condition, because he's seen a lot of volatility in South African cricket of late. Having seen it from the point of view, from the vantage point, being the captain, being in the captain seat, and I just hope that if he's not picked, if at all it happens, if he's not picked for the T20 World Cup, he doesn't break down. Or maybe I'm just being a bit too over imaginative. Maybe he's just more chilled out.
But you know, they've the selectors and Bavuma and Boucher are in constant touch with him. So uh, it won't come to him as a surprise, so to speak. So if it happens, well and good. If it doesn't, so be it. But I don't think Faf is that sort of a person who sort of gets perturbed by all this. He has the courage to take everything in
Yeah.
his stride. So that's good. But you know, Dave, just to end this podcast, at least for me, what I
There's just one more statistic. There's just one more statistic I want to tell our viewers. When I was speaking about the prowess of this 20-year-old all-rounder from New Zealand, Amelia Kerr, you know how many wickets she's away from touching 100 wickets in international cricket? Just one wicket away. She's already taken 99 international wickets. And when she made 232, she was not out. Even though many people would say that it came against a lowly attack of Ireland, but still 232 not out. Brian Lara hasn't done it. Saeed Anwar hasn't done it. Gary Kirsten hasn't done it. I mean,
so
it's just incredible.
basically Amelia Kerr doesn't
Yeah. To Kerr
you
is
know,
not.
if
To Kerr is
she
not.
has yeah if she has taken a break also, it's only to make herself a better person, a more
Yes.
rounded individual. Yeah, Dave, the only other thing that scares me now is that I hope that New Zealand cricket doesn't move on from her. If she's taken that break, even the boards like ECB has shown full support to Ben Stokes in terms of he taking a break, and he'll always be on their radar whenever he decides to come back. So it's very important for all the boards who see their people, who see their players suffering from these mental anxiety issues.
Very
They
well
should give
said,
them
Kiran.
the they should give them the confidence that they will be back on the radar and they
Yeah.
won't come across as a lost case. Because you know, they if I'm suffering from anxiety, the one certainty I need is that I've just taken a sabbatical, I've just taken a break, and I know I can go back to work to that XYZ place. Similarly, it's for a cricketer also. So
Yeah.
the board needs to show confidence that they are just trying to mend their ways. Like when your
Yeah.
car goes for servicing, the car knows that it has to come back to the owner. Same is the case with the cricketers there. So that patience needs to be shown.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one name before we round up this episode is Sarah Taylor. Okay,
Sarah
somebody
Taylor,
who's
yeah.
yeah, I mean, a living legend of the women's game, I would say. Somebody with a batting average of 39, perhaps in ODIs. Somebody with 6,000 plus international runs. Collectively, she scored 700s in the league. It's incredible that at the age of 30, when she was
Two,
nearing 31, um,
32, 2019,
she's right
she
now
retired.
32, but now
Just
it's
she's
been a
right now
year.
32.
Yeah, but she
Okay.
could not deal with the anxiety. And let's not forget, she was a teenager when she was drafted in the
Yeah.
England lineup. And she's somebody who's played the game for almost a decade and a half. And imagine what all might she have been able to achieve had that trouble not have happened her end.
Yeah.
Many people would resort to Sarah Taylor's fan clubs because of her good looks. But to me, it's a terrible loss of a cricketer who's amidst us, because when it comes to amazing reflexes behind the wickets, it's not just MS Dhoni. With all due respect, it was Sarah Taylor. She was
Yeah.
She was one of a kind creature behind the stumps. It was not a good idea to miss a delivery and then find yourself out of the crease, because by the time you look behind, the bales would have been disturbed. And she has been disturbed in life, so much so that she had to call it a day, end a career which was blossoming and only soaring northwards, man. So these are the things. At Correct Point, the only thing we would want to say now, as this podcast draws to an end, is that first step is acceptance, that you accept that there is a trouble. And especially men, us men we've been taught to be strong and not to cry, and not to make a big deal about it, and theek hai yaar, koi badi gal nahi hai. But it doesn't work like that. We are sensitive human beings. Reach out for help, ask out, seek out, express yourself. If you are an introvert, write about it. Robin Uthappa, I would urge our viewers to listen to that beautiful interview he gave to thequint.com, one of the more sensible media platforms around us, not driven by hype or TRPs. And yeah, our sympathies are with you, as are our hopes to see all of you who have suffered from this stigma, most notably Emilia Kerr, Ben Stokes at this point in time, to return back to where they belong. Any parting words, Pranay?
I think Dave, you've summed it up beautifully. I just feel that it's a pause, it's not a reset, and they'll come back stronger. So we just need to be more accepting of it, and we should just go with the flow and give every cricketer a chance to express themselves, because they're all human at the end of the day. And a cliche saying to is what's that saying? I'm forgetting it.
To err is human.
To err is human and to forgive is divine. And I'm sure that we as fans are looking for divinity and not being mumbo jumbo keyboard warriors. So
Yeah.
that's what I have to say. Why
In
don't
an
you end the
age,
podcast?
yeah, I just want to say, in an age where self-expression is perhaps at its peak, all thanks to the social media shenanigans, it is it is very important to refrain oneself from saying things which might hurt a cricketer, because he's not there just for his family or to make a living. He's there for you, the fan, for you and me, for Pranay, for Dev, for countless Pranay and Devs who are watching this podcast, for countless people who look at the sport and find in it the meaning of their lives. And if it is cricket which you are so passionate about, then why would you not be extra careful about just containing yourself before you ridicule or subject somebody to vitriol, which certainly can be avoided. So, with great power comes great responsibility, and this great responsibility teaches us to be self-disciplined. So,
Guys,
until
Uncle
next
Ben has
time,
spoken, and I feel like Spider-Man right now. But,
this is Uncle
but
Ben saying bye bye.
yeah, that's Uncle Ben signing off. This is
Uncle Ben got shot also in the end. Do you want me to shoot myself? I'll do it.
No. So, but guys, it's always good to end a serious topic on a happy note. And please, guys,
This is what we
just
do at Correct Point, and we
yeah,
love it.
just pray for all these cricketers, and they'll come back stronger, guys.
Absolutely.
Because
Come
always
back
remember
stronger.
that everyone suffers from mental anxiety. It's how we come out of it. That's most important.
Yeah.
So on that note, cheers, guys. Do like this video, watch this video, subscribe, and until we bring our next one, this is Pranay Rangra and Dev
And
Tyagi.
if you think that there is no depression in our lives, just look at the number of people who have subscribed to our episodes, who've subscribed to our show. Well, Pranay and me have overcome that depression, despite
We are
every episode in which we think
150
we are trying.
strong, guys. We are 150 strong. We don't see it as only 150. We see it as 150 strong. That's the
It's
way
how you
Dave and
see
I
it.
look at things. Yeah. The glass is
All
always
right,
half
guys.
full and not half empty. Guys.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Thank you,
Bye.
Pranay. Thank you.
Bye.
See you another time. Bye.